Yo, what's up, folks? It's your boy, Beastly Bator, and welcome back to another episode of the Bate Escape Podcast. You know, the podcast dedicated to all things masturbation, soul sexuality, goon culture, all that good stuff. In today's episode, I have a really great conversation with the Bator MyB8Buddy. It was so much fun talking to them and learning about their masturbation journey and all the wonderful things they are embarking on at the moment. We talk about really great topics. Some of those topics are the intersectionality of race and sex, why having a bait buddy to the bait party can reduce your sex anxiety, understanding our traumas and triggers and how they affect our masturbation journey, vulnerability and intimacy among men. That was a fun one. And chatting about attachment styles and understanding how that shows up in your life. I love talking to them about all this stuff. I felt that this was a much needed sex therapy conversation. So listen in. I hope you enjoy it. And as always, thank you so much for supporting this podcast. I hope that you share it with a friend, share it with that new baiter in your life. And as always, let me know what you think and enjoy. That's how I roll on this pod. I just like to shoot the shit and
see where it goes and flows.
Yeah, because I just feel like that's what a pod is supposed to be about, Because I feel like in the beginning I started planning shit and then shit was just like dumb. Listen,
when you try to give it a theme or a whole direction.
Yeah, and I just feel like in my life I've always just been very I've just always been really grungy and not, I don't want to say messy, but very rough around the edges. And I feel like it's very on brand for me. Full transparency, I'm a little hungover.
Yeah. Oh no.
We'll get to all that. But I want to know how you're doing. How are you feeling today? First of all, thanks for joining me on the pod. And for those listening, I got my bait buddy. And if you don't know who they are, you're living under a rock. You gotta go follow them on X and check out all their sexy stuff that they post. How are you doing? How are you feeling today?
Today, how am I feeling? How I'm doing? I'm feeling good. It's a beautiful day here. I've been sitting outside, just going for a little walk and taking in the nature and the sound. I don't know, it's very peaceful, and I love that. It's a good way for me to kind of meditate and give myself some me time and think about what I want to talk about regarding to just the topic of masturbation in the community and ideas and wonders and thoughts, all that good stuff. So,
well, you have a lot of stuff going on. So I send my guests this form to fill out, and I always ask if there's something that you want to talk about, share, and you have a really cool stuff going on. I feel.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Of things going on. That's coming up pretty soon. Right. You're right. You're right. So, as you know, the Bate Off just concluded, and they've announced their new masturbator. Congratulations to Adam Chase on that. Mm-hmm. And so I did the recaps for that, and I was just interested in continue on doing some more things with the Bator blog, and had an idea for just tapping on some different topics in a big community. Regarding dynamics between people who are baiters or dating someone who is not a baiter but is a baiter. What are your boundaries around that or spaces around that? Tapping into interracial dynamics with people of color and how they are represented or seen in bait spaces. Just everything. I kind of just want to dive into every little pot and stir it up a little bit.
Well, that's why I was so
and ask some questions and get the pot going again.
Well, that's why I was so interested in talking to you, because I feel like when I look at your stuff and when I follow and read your tweets and your posts and things, I feel like you and I have that interest in the intersectionality of sex and just being human and how that affects people of color, because I do identify that I am Mexican American, so I'm a brown person, and so your lived experience is completely different from my lived experience, even though we're both people of color. And so I was just I can sort of relate to that, but I want to know more, how how do they navigate this space, or how do they navigate that? And it's it's always interesting to me. And so more than just talking about fucking or baiting, which I do constantly.
Well, no, that's a good point I make too. We're more than just our cum shot, right? There's more going on with the person than just this erection. So I think that's why I'm pairing that off with my own kind of solo thing of doing my self work, like going through my traumas, going through my attachment styles, and really just like picking it apart and just really looking at my cycle of how I interact with everyone on any type of level of relationship status. And
That's such a
that's
like
been
high level
interesting.
of self-awareness.
Oh yeah, it's like it
Isn't
feels
it
like you're in a
exhausting?
fishbowl on the stage with the light and everyone's there. It is exhausting. Like mentally, it wears at you, but it is beautiful on the other side of that tunnel when you work through something and
Have
figure it
you
out.
always been that person, like always in touch with like your feelings, your emotions, like just being like self-aware of who you are as a person?
Yeah, I've also been the sensitive kid as for a little bit, but
Are you an empath?
I think so. I don't know if anyone's ever like, but I kind of just do read a room, and I've always been told I radiate, things when I'm feeling them without even saying a word. Right? We can feel it in the room, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just very attuned to it. I definitely pick it up, and I think that has a
Yeah.
lot to say about like my interests, and I think even me, my approach to like masturbation, like that's my energy. I want everyone to feel included and seen and visible and affirmed in whatever it is they're bringing to the table. Yeah,
And that's what I love about Bate spaces. So the reason why I'm hungover is because I
story
went,
time.
I was at a Bate party last night. Excuse me.
Ooh,
Yeah, and it was really fun. So
start from the beginning.
do you know Brother Bader?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
I've never
So
met them in
he
person, but I know I'm aware of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so we live really close to each other. I would say like probably like a 15-minute bus ride. We can like hang
Okay.
out.
Wow. Yeah.
And so they're always just like wanting me to come like to these spaces. Like he's very heavily in the scene in LA. And I just have a lot of social anxiety. And so like going to these parties has always been like a struggle for me, just like because I feel like I'm just so hyper aware of like what how I want to present
Whatever is
myself.
going on. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
whole thing. It's all a trauma response. I'm self-aware. I'm self-aware enough to know that.
Yeah.
But I went and it was so different. Like I was very relaxed. And I think also too, because I had like a buddy with me, like I had them with me, and so they were kind of like, this is
You
like
kind of a
friend.
support system in your own way.
Yeah,
Yeah. To
absolutely. And
fall
I feel
back
like that's
on.
like
Yeah.
necessary. Like I just feel like it's scary. It's like
You're
intimidating
going
to
into
be in
another
that
Bader's bait
space.
cave. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Like someone else's space.
Absolutely. And so you don't know anybody. And so they like they've been in the scene for so long, so they've established already these relationships. And so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like you're like the new friend, like everyone's kind
Yeah.
of like you're on the
You're
sus
fresh
list. And
meat. You're on the list. Everyone's looking at you, right?
yeah, but then I got to thinking, I was like, well, who am I really? Like I'm talking about this shit. Like I have a podcast about this shit. Like I'm on my shit, but I don't go to the shit. It makes no sense. And so I was really upset at myself. And so
Were we
they're
having a bit
they
of imposter syndrome happening?
probably yeah. I've been dealing with that a
Yeah.
lot lately. It's a whole nother story. But
It's a mental space. I feel that. I've been there. I am there.
because you're just like, oh, like am I really like true to this shit? Like this is like, but this is what
Yeah.
I do and this is who I am, but I'm not really
But
expressing it. So
I
you
mean, I
get
guess
into
at
the
that
hole
point you
maybe.
start looking at other people's things, and you're comparing yourself to other people's beta venture, and you're like, well, why am I not, doing this or that? It's like, there's a space still missing always somewhere. You just got to look past, everyone else's shine. You can just look at your own opportunity there.
You're absolutely right. And I know that I live in a very like I recognize my privilege in that I live in a big metropolis. I don't know, where are you?
Mhm.
Can you disclose that? Where in the world you are?
Yes, I'm in Ohio, so I'm in a whole different setup. I used to be in Chicago, just moved recently.
Oh, how long have you been in Ohio?
My journey, like with all of it, in like the past, not even a month yet.
Do you Oh shit, so you're brand new.
Yeah,
Wait, do you love
brand
it
new.
or
But I've
no?
lived in Chicago for the past 8 years now. Do I love
Okay.
it? It's home. It's close to family. It was a move that I needed to do for a little bit. It was time to break away a little bit from
Ohio,
my
not Chicago, Ohio.
not Chicago. Yeah, I'm in Ohio. I moved from Chicago.
You're originally from Chicago, Ohio?
No, originally from Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
Buckeye boy.
I have a bro that's in Ohio and he was just like, I love Ohio. Like it's a really beautiful like place. And he'll like send me snaps when I wa
Yeah.
before I got banned. But he would
Ah,
but he would like show me this like and I was like, it's such a beautiful city. I was watching
yeah.
Bridesmaids the other day on YouTube and the movie takes place in Milwaukee and they have like all these
Yes.
beautiful shots. I'm like, is that
Yes.
really Milwaukee?
Milwaukee, yes, it is Milwaukee, yes, but it does look
Oh,
very
okay.
similar to Ohio in some ways, so I can see that
It was
being
just
like,
like they have these beautiful shots of like by the river and like it just looked really
yeah,
pleasant.
yeah. It is a pleasant place to be. I'll say that it's a change up from the busyness of Chicago to now. There's like everyone's quiet,
But
legit
wait,
at
back
like 10 o'clock.
legit. Wait, is it like a slower pace of life, Ohio? Have you ever been to LA?
We're in the suburbs, so like we're out of the city, so we're not actually near the city itself. So it's
Oh,
just
okay, gotcha.
very suburbia.
I feel like I feel like suburbia is
So I
nice.
felt like it is. I'm trying to find the real baiters of suburbia now. I'm trying to get that up and running. Like maybe there's a bunch of the sexy baiters nearby, waiting to start a series going.
Are there sexy baiters nearby? What's the bait scene in Ohio? Like,
Very quiet at the moment.
oh shit.
I say my online family has been so good to me.
Hey, you gotta like sometimes I'm just like I always
Yeah.
get upset because like I told my friend the other day and I was like, I haven't seen a dick pic all day today. I'm always just
Yeah.
like, God, no one's thinking about me. Um,
Well, that's when you make the post about accepting dick pics now. You got to do your social media spread
I
and
love dick pic. I love seeing people naked. Like I just love like nudity because everyone's bodies are so
sure.
different, you know? And so
Well,
I'm
you do
just
go
like,
to like do nudity events, like you've seen you go to Healthy Frictions. I think did you go to Sausage Fest?
no, I missed it. I feel like I might have I
Uh,
don't know what I was doing. Oh, I had a brand new job and I was like too stressed and I was like I couldn't think about doing anything else.
too many things, traveling and working.
Yeah, if it's too much, I get overstimulated. I'm just like, I just want to stay home. Um, no, have you been to Sasha's Fest? I want to go. Definitely.
I was in Vegas at the time that it was happening, so I did go, but it was to meet up with a buddy and jerk off. So I kind of was there
Yeah.
in spirit, but
Mm.
it was fun meeting the other guys who were going to the different events. I didn't go to the like the actual planned events.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was talking about. So, like, the imposter syndrome comes from just staying online. And then
Mm,
I'm just like, but like, I think
I got to
but
make
also,
appearances.
yeah, but it's also to that journey where you get comfortable in yourself enough to be like, okay, like, I have to like show face and like, but also too, like, it's me just being like, this is my community. Like, I shouldn't have to hide behind a computer. Like, I'm a viable human. Like, just go out there and like, people love you and like, they support you. And so, like,
Yeah,
just keeping that in mind um made me feel a lot calmer. Do you like going to bait parties?
I do. But I think to like also like what you're saying too to get some answer to that, like yeah, uh, it's interesting now, like meeting other big content creators or people in the community that give voice to different points of like of the how things are going. Like I think since the pandemic, the big community has grown so drastically.
Hmm.
It was more niche then, and now it's like grown to so many different nuances now that come to the big community. It's not so one thing going on, one note now. There's so
It's
much
not so
color and
linear.
diversity, and yeah, like there is so
Yeah.
much more. So I think now navigating it is kind of that clusterfuck of where do I lean into? Like where do I? It's like the online community itself. That's its own community that you really can dive into and break down that most people won't know. But to go
Yeah.
to the next part of going to bait parties, I think that brings another nuance because now you're physically in a moment and space with someone where you're reading energy, body cues, and signals. You start going to that self hate talk, maybe even like I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think it can change the vibe to what one. So do I like going to them? Yes, to answer your question. But I like going for those reasons because it's just like I don't know, and I'm curious enough to like I want to experience it, and I think the
Yeah.
more that I do like even like the self work and learning about like what are my triggers, what are my wounds, what are my things that set me off when I'm in
Mm-hmm.
like and how do I now that I know
Mm-hmm.
that how can I communicate to that to act, I can show up differently now. So I think it goes into a lot of that when we go to those events looking for validation. I think it's all in the mindset of why you're going. Like if you're going for validation or like I need to know because everyone touched my dick or everyone shot their load on me, then no one does it, does that mean you're not like? So I think it's all about the mindset of why you go if you enjoy them personally. But
Yeah.
I think they're a great experiment for that reason though, is to discover what those things are. You don't know. Somebody can think you're the best thing since sliced cheese walking through the door.
Cheese. Are you a big cheese fan?
No, I'm actually a little bit lactose intolerant. I should be eating cheese.
Oh shit. But no, I think you're totally
But
right
you
to go
want the
back
things you can't have. Is that the message in that story then?
that's just life. That's just how life works,
There
man.
you go.
Like you
Just a life
always want the
license.
shit you just can't have. It's like fuck. What was I saying? Oh, you brought up an interesting point
Uh,
when you were speaking. I thought expectations, and I think going into this bait party, like I didn't have the expectation of like, oh, I need to come or I need to like masturbate everybody or everyone needs to meet
yeah,
me. Like, no, I went there and I provided my energy and my baiterness, and I was like, this is who I am, you know, fully realize and my what
fully
my body is,
exposed.
yeah, what I look like, what my energy is. And you check that before you even walk into the space because you're responsible for your own energy.
Correct.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, and so I think that's what made it a lot more pleasurable to just be like, you know what? I'm meeting new people, and that's just what I bring to the table, and that's what it is. And if you like it, you like it. But everyone liked it.
Everyone liked it.
Yeah, which is I
That's a
was
good
really
ending to
happy
that story.
about.
I like
Yeah,
that. Yes, we're
but
glad to
also
hear
too, like
that.
a little bit of liquid courage helped. A little alcohol helped here. Just
Well, I think
just
we have our ways of
to
coping that or cooling that anxiety or that worry or whatever the moment is for you, right? To calm
just to
our
take off
mental
the
models down,
edge. Nothing
to stay
crazy.
present. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That and also too, that's what I wanted to do too. Like I didn't really go heavy on the poppers. Like I didn't smoke any weed. Like I was like, I
Nice.
need to focus and be present because I know that I can get really lost in my own head.
Sure.
Especially when I partake in those things. And I was like, no, there's like people around me, like really interact and have that connection. And it was really great. But also too, like you always get worried because you're just like, oh, like if I don't get hard, I don't want him to think that he's not sexy or like he's not turning me on. And so like you're constantly in your head about, but then you're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah. It's like that devil, good angel, like moment on your shoulder. One is talking, you're like, "Hey, what about this? What about that?" Everyone's so erect, and you're not. Like, you start again comparing to
exactly
everyone
right.
else's experience to your own. It's like, but yours is fine right where it is, because maybe what you
Exactly.
needed right now was social interaction, and you're
And I went,
getting it.
at one point I went to the restroom and I was like, bro, you need to chill. Like your body's gonna
Yeah,
do what it's gonna do. I took a deep breath, I collected myself and went back in and I had a great time. It was fine. My body was rocking and rolling.
responding right there. I mean, it is that sometimes you have to like kind of talk yourself off that worry hill. You got to just like you good, check in with yourself and go back at
You
it
have a
again.
really calm presence energy about you. I really enjoy it.
Oh, thank you. I think it's again, uh, yeah, I think it's just something I've always had a good awareness about myself. I kind of just do this matching of energy, and I know people say that and think it in a negative way, and I don't. Yeah, I think over the years, you know, it's just part of what I feel like we should be trying to do. Like we should be trying to match a person where they are and their energy, and just kind of flow with it and go with it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think for me, that's awakened so many more connections with me as far as connecting back with my family, with my friends, with my partner.
Yeah.
Not having so many expectations of what I think things should be like. And
And
when I
just kind
like
of
let
take them
that
for what they
go,
are.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, we're here, then we're chilling. You're a little hungover, that's fine too. I had a joint early. I'm a little buzzed. We're good. I'm in the same kind of space for different actions and reasons, but that's okay. You know, here we
What
are. So
I
thank you.
took
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, I took sex coach training course,
Ooh,
and
tell more.
it really changed my life. Well, like because I was at a point in my life where like I just had no I had no clue what intimacy was. I had no clue what boundaries were, and it
Mm,
really taught me a lot about
mm.
myself. And one of the
All the
things,
juicy buzzwords.
all of them, and I
All
use
the
them all the
things,
time.
penis, knees. Yeah.
And one of the things I really learned to do or learned to understand was attunement.
Mm.
Like
Yes. Say more
meeting
about
people
that.
where they are, like taking a moment to like assess who the person is in front of you, like how are they speaking, what's their energy level like match that, like ride that
Yeah.
frequency. Because growing up all my life I was very like, I'm a Leo, so I'm very like aggressive in my energy.
Being strong
And
into your zodiac sign readings every month.
yeah, and everyone always just thought I was like annoying, like I just annoyed people because I was always bouncing off of walls.
Mm.
And so when I finally learned to like harness that power and to like really focus on the person and like just be like, yes, I'm here with you. Let's talk this or like whatever interaction we're gonna have. I think it's really, I don't know, it's important. And I don't think a lot of men are capable of it. I know I wasn't. And so it's challenging sometimes in those spaces.
Bring up. No, I think that's
So,
exactly it. That's part of like what I'm interested in, like uh, diving into more conversation with other men is intimacy and being that vulnerable space. Because I think, not to generalize everyone's experience, but I think in some of most everyone's childhood, there's been some kind of moment or experience where someone that you had an emotional connection with that maybe dismissed your emotions at some point or didn't give them as much attention as you would have liked because it felt so strongly to you that kind of
mm,
builds this repetition to think that no one's really going to care. So I'm not really ever going to go as deep with anybody unless they have to really show me that they're my friend or that they love me or that whatever, that they're safe.
yeah.
Right. So I think as men, we kind of block that out and kind of stick in that aroused, horny, sexual fantasy place where things are easy because we can go anywhere there. But bringing it back to yourself is a little more challenging, like you say. So I think having those intimate
Yeah.
conversations one on one, like, and not expecting anything other than just to get to know that person deeply in that moment, to hear their emotion or to hear that need to connect with someone is a little bit harder because you don't know how you're going to respond to that because you've never really had it in some way or form. So
Mm,
to try to accept it and then give it back is like I don't know how, you know. So it's like I'm gonna stick to what I do know. And I do know these things, and I'm good with those things. And I'll have little moments that's just enough. And for me, that's been like my challenge going back and forth. When I'm asking myself, well, why is that? You know, what are those? What are those things I'm trying to dodge? Why am I dodging out of way of that I don't want? Uh, and yeah, so I think just it's interesting. I just want to know what more men think, and hopefully, when you're hearing this podcast, guys, you can comment some of those thoughts. But I'm interested
mm-hmm.
because I think we're both interested in topics like that. Like, what is it?
Yeah,
What's the holdup, so to
absolutely.
speak? Why are we not connecting as close as? I think there's a double standard. Like we always say, like women have these great intimate connections and they can go so many different places and spaces with each other, but then men's like it's a double standard. Men can't do that. Stay away from that, and like it's not safe, and that's I don't know, soft, too sensitive, too ushy
Yeah.
gushy. I don't know what the word is that maybe someone
Yeah.
has in their mind. And I know men do have that, but I don't think it's a very common thing that's spoken about.
No, I agree. And I think also too, I've spoken to other bros, and I think it's like this idea that to be mushy or to be soft or to be vulnerable has to be like in a more feminized, and I'm using air quotes here, feminized
Yes.
way. But it doesn't have to be. Like you can still be
Yeah.
broy and still be vulnerable. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to change
Yeah.
your demeanor or
Yeah.
your personality, but
No.
you can still open up to others. But also too, like when people or when bros do, like, doesn't it make it sexier? I don't know. For some reason, I'm
Well,
just like, holy shit, because I'm just like finally like tapping into something that I see in
sure.
myself because you're reflecting who I am at that point. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm trying to
Well, I
still
think it's
figure it out.
something. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I think just to go off what you're saying, I think it's something that challenges like the masculinity of the individual, right?
Mm,
Because we almost we we portray our best selves forward when we're meeting people that we want to connect with in some shape or form, whether aware or subconsciously, we're presenting our best self as we can.
hmm
And sometimes that presents maybe not a phony, but something that's not authentically all you, right? And then they get to know that what you presented as what they love. And then, you know, over time, the
hmm
real you wants to come out. And then it's like, well, now that's starting to feel a little more vulnerable because usually I'm like that super bro. What's up, bro? How you doing, bro? Good to see you, buddy. And then one day I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? You know, a little more chill. And I want to talk about how maybe my day's been stressful and maybe not jerk off with you, even though we said we're going to jerk off right now. But damn it, I just need to talk to you. You know, it's like, but we never just done
Yeah.
that. How do I just start talking to you? Usually we have our dicks out, we're greased up, and we're going. Like, how do I switch up the dynamic all of a sudden and challenge the the relationship I have with that person? So
hmm
I don't know. I think there's something about taking that step of vulnerability and saying, "Hey, this is what I need." You know, still doesn't mean like I don't know. I'm figuring it out. I'm working on it. Stay tuned, guys. I'm gonna have more thoughts coming your way, but that's where
I
we
think
are in the thought
I think
process.
I think yeah, I think it's a process, and I think you just you stay true to who you are. You present obviously the best version of yourself because I that's what I try to do, right? Like when the moment I
Yeah,
wake up,
everyone
I'm
does,
just like,
and it's
how
not a
how
bad
can I
thing.
be
Yeah.
Right. How can I be kinder? How can I be nicer? How can I be more loving, compassionate, patient? Like all these things that I've always wanted to have people do to me, but never received. So now I'm in a place where it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, well, if I put that out, I expect that in return. But now I'm in a place where it's like, if I don't get that in return, now that's where the boundaries come in, right? That's where I'm able to be like, okay, like
Yeah, it's like, well, what
I
does that mean? Does that mean da 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 da?
right. Or
No,
you come to a
you
place where it's like, okay, well, I tried. I gave you access to my good energy. It wasn't reciprocated, or you
hmm
mishandled it. Here are the consequences. Like you no longer have access to me, my dick, my space, all these wonderful things that I know make me who I am.
Part of the beautiful packaging gift,
Because
right?
I'm that Bader. No, it's
I like that. That could
true.
be a series too.
I I have a really important question to ask you though. Who's Sexy
Okay.
Sean?
Oh yeah, let's talk about Sexy Sean.
I read this
I
shit and
get
I
so
was like,
excited.
excuse me? I was like, Sexy Sean. Okay, well, I want to know more.
So that's so funny. I'm glad you brought that up. Anyhow,
Yeah.
when I was beginning, so back in Ohio is kind of back where I began my journey as a baiter. I didn't know the word yet, but
Mhm.
there was I don't know if there's still a group here. I gotta look into that. But there was a like Cleveland Jacks or Cleveland Bait or something. I don't remember the name. And they would meet at a yoga space, and I got invited one time on a Grinder app. And I was like, "This is like a setup. I'm gonna like be kidnapped. Like
A
this just seems
grinder.
sketch."
Nice.
It was on Grinders. It was like I don't know, group of men meeting up.
I think you're right. I think you're right to be sus about it on Grinder for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'll borrow my parents' car and go anyway.
Oh fuck.
I was at the time. What was that? This is like in between junior and senior year. So I was 19, 21 of those. So anyway, I go. It was a great time. Beautiful
Nice.
space. It was a little sketch and sus walking into the space. It was like between some abandoned buildings and there was no
Oh
one out but a
shit.
couple of people just walking the streets. I was like, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm a little turned on by this because ooh la la, this is just like everything I've seen on TV. It was a beautiful yoga space. Walked in, the guys were lovely. There was like, ooh, fresh young meat walking in. I was the only man of color there, so I felt like a taboo on floating clouds walking in. I was like, this is gonna be great. And we're gonna get everyone so nice. It was a good time. I met this guy named Barry there. And Barry was like on me, like white on rice the whole night. Everywhere I went, he was somehow near or watching or encouraging. And I told him my name was Sean because I didn't want to know my real name. I was like, I don't want
Right.
them to know my name.
Of
So I was gonna make
course.
up a one. And Sean is my middle name. So the whole time he would just call me Sexy Sean in the sense that when I would I would just appear out of nowhere and just start when I get comfortable, I become very vocal and very expressive and my body moves and I'm touching. And it's only while I'm masturbating. I don't know. I don't and so he just would call me Sexy Sean. So that name stuck because we eventually would start seeing each other in public in spaces that were not. And he would always say, Sexy Sean. And people were like, who the fuck is Sean? And everyone was like looking. This one night at a gay bar we're at, and I was like, I don't know. And I feel like we should move together. But I wasn't ready to talk about what my beta ventures were early on in that stage. But that's where that name comes from. It was
That's
from
cool.
Barry. That's
You
all I
don't
know.
use
His
it
name was Barry.
anymore?
I don't. I used to when I first made my BateWorld profile. My name was Sean.
Nice.
It did say Sean for like a whole
Yeah.
month or and a half when I first made it.
Yeah.
I was like, it's got to be a cooler name than that. Yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah, no, yeah. But I like Sexy Sean though.
it was a thing. Yeah, it did have a very. I will say because we went. They had camping events too. And I went to a couple of those once I got comfortable with the guys that I was seeing at the events. And they were like, it was
Mhm.
like always a very Brokeback Mountain kind of theme. So there was always a cowboy hat or some chaps or some
Cowboy
boots.
boots?
Yeah, like, and
That's
it was like
fucking hot.
always, yeah. So Barry had like a very Brokeback Mountain kind of aesthetic. I remember like the tent was very small. It was like a thin air mattress and a sheet,
Oh,
and that's what we laid on. That was it. He invited me. That drove up. I had my backpack and a few toiletries, and he was like, "This is the tent." I was like, "Oh shit!"
wait, do you still talk to this
But it was
person?
such a No, this is many years ago. This is
Oh,
10 plus years ago now.
oh,
He is now just a sexy memory and fantasy. I don't even think he lives in the city anymore.
oh.
But it
Good
was just like
times.
10. He was like an older dude with a nice kind of muscular build. Like not like he went to the gym, but you can tell he once maybe did a lot. I don't know. He had a beautiful build. He was very he was cool. He was a nice guy. He was encouraging, like go do stuff, like don't be nervous, you're in a safe space, I got you, have fun. Like it was that. Like it wasn't really a daddy kind of vibe, more like a mentor, like you got this, you're safe, buddy. He gave me
That's
courage
so
to just go be
sexy.
my sexy self. So it was sexy in that space that he encouraged me. And then of
Yeah.
course we baited and made out and sucked. We never had sex. It always stayed in like in that realm. We never had
Hmm.
any penetrative sex. It just stayed in kissing and maybe a little sucking, but mostly baiting.
That's hot.
Mostly baiting always. Yeah.
The party that I went to last night was being hosted by an older daddy. Fucking hot
Yeah.
as shit. Like
Yeah.
like you were saying, like
You guys
muscular
interact a
build,
little bit.
but he's got a belly. But he had like
Yeah.
the
It was
furriest
good.
chest, and I was just like, God damn it. I don't know. Like every time I look at older like male men like that, I'm just like, ah, like
Yeah.
it's something to look forward to.
No, I'm like, I hope I
Because
get a little more chest hairs on my chest. I hope they grow in. Like, come
I
on, guys.
wish like
I
I've
want to
always
have a
just like
hairy chest.
I love the ones where it's just like full like on the abs too, like goes right down to the crotch. I'm
Oh
just like,
yeah, full
oh.
like trail forests,
I feel like as I get older, my
national
body is
gardens.
definitely producing it. So I'm just like, oh, this is so nice. But yeah, I just like I'll like grab it. I'll just grab his chest hair
Yeah.
as I bait because that's all I want to feel. Or like
Yeah.
I'll rub my penis on like a hairy thigh or something.
I love a good hairy thigh.
Right? I don't know. Body hair is so hot to me. Let's talk about the
I
different
think,
things that
yeah.
you're gonna do. Yeah, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
No, I was gonna say I think there's something interesting about the things that baiters will, as you're baiting, like the things that come out, like what you're talking about, like the fantasies or what you appreciate about another guy that you're jerking off with. Like it's just interesting. Like it seems as the really like what people hold as male qualities, like hairiness and or thick kind of body, or just like I don't know, just the energy of it. Like to me,
Do you
is so
do that
sexy.
though? Like, do you like when I bait or like even when I watch porno, like I won't necessarily pay attention to the actual sex, but I'll pick up on little things about people or like the scene that they're
Yeah,
doing. Like
yeah.
maybe I really like when there's that juxtaposition of men being really fragile with each other, but really being nasty and horny. So like
Mm,
you'll like men will be in a group of
yes.
together and they're just everyone's like sucking and making out, but then you'll see like a big hand just like to caress a shoulder and that'll get me off
Mm.
and I'm like, oh, that was so gentle. Ugh. And I'll
uh,
just come to
I
that.
agree. Yeah. No, I think
Yeah.
there's something about going back to like some of my favorite experiences in a group setting. Is like, yeah, there is that like everyone's really going to town on their dicks, having a good time, jerking off, kissing, sucking, whatever. But then it's like that one touch across the chest, so soft, right over your nipple or down your belly or across your thigh. It's like stimulating, like it just sends you off. And I think
Yes.
uh, that's something that I think I'm very mindful of when I ever have like a bait session with a buddy in person. Like I don't
Mhm.
just immediately go for like jackhammer up and down, good and going. Like I kind of want to just chill with the hand on the thigh and just kind of rub your thigh, kind of just like help you settle in, me settle in, and get in touch with each other's body, like attune, like you were speaking about earlier. Kind of see where they are, see where I am,
I love it because it's just like in
and
this
kind of go with
party,
that.
like it was just like a bunch of like naked bodies on top of a bed. So like legs are on top of everybody. Like I'm grabbing a titty or like
Baby
I'm like
sister all
massaging
over.
someone nuts. Like it's like a big dog
Love
pile of like horny men. And at one point I was sitting on this chair and this guy like threw his foot over mine and I was like, oh, I'm fucking this foot. Like,
it.
and I was like, is it cool if I just rub my dick on your foot? He's like, yeah, totally. And then he like faced me and I was like,
Absolutely.
give me the other one. And so like at one point, like he was giving me like a
You were
foot
doing some
job,
foot fucking, yeah. Oh, one of my
which I
favorites.
love.
Love them.
I love a big
That was
like
a new
baby foot.
discovery for me. I didn't know I didn't like. Yeah, that came later in life. I thought I was not a foot person.
And now
Discovered
you
that with a
are.
buddy later. I am. Love them. Yeah, a foot rubbing is lovely,
It's fun.
but it is
Especially when they
fun.
got
Yeah,
those
like
soft soles.
ooh,
Ooh.
don't get me going. It's the new
Um
thing. It's like I like it. I dig it. Yeah.
I
But
like it
that's
too.
cool.
Like I
I think just
but it
learning about that soft touch, that more sensuality of that's more intimate, You know, it's because it's more has a point. Like it's not just a
I think the reason why I like it so much, like I like it slower and more sensual, more passionate, is because I tend to live in my head a lot, and so when I do get the caress or I do get that grab, like it brings me back into my body,
bring you back to
like
present.
because
Yeah.
I tend to disassociate a lot, and so being able to have that person, like kiss me or like do anything that's like physical to me, it brings me back to that moment where I'm just like, ah, this feels good, and I respond to that, and so
Mm.
um yeah, so like last night, this guy was like going really hard on my dick, and I get time to slow down, just slow it down, like you're good, like I'm not going anywhere. Um, so I know I just love that about myself. Like I know my body well enough to know like this doesn't
Sure.
feel good, and if you take it a little bit slower, it's gonna be money. I want to talk about the things that you're doing coming up. So you have a personal blog. It's called Open Diary that's going to be starting up.
Yeah.
Tell me about that because the things you're going to talk about are pretty intense. So I'm like curious to know like how are you preparing yourself to like divulge this
um,
information or to like go into this work?
yeah. So the open diary one, I had to like pull up some notes. Cause like I'm trying to get my mind wrapped around the spelling to go through these points.
Hmm.
So that one is it's kind of going back to again to my self work that I'm doing on myself, and I like part of that I part of what I learned about myself is I've hidden a lot of myself from people I've cared about the most,
Mm.
which are like my loved ones, my partners that I've had in history, and my friendships that have went in its up and downs. And part of that is just hiding. I won't share. I'll just keep it all to myself and kind of try to do it myself. So this whole project for me is personal in the sense that I'm breaking my cycle, breaking my family curses in a way because it's kind of how my family even handles a lot of our really stressful things or happenings in life. There's a lot of just hiding it, keeping it all in, and just pretending like nothing's going on, and you know, a lot of emotional damage because of that.
I hear that.
So
Definitely.
this is that's so I'm diving into just my attachment styles like I brought up earlier. So
Hmm.
uh, I'm working through a program, and my attachment style is definitely a fearful avoidant, which I'm not sure if anyone's aware of that. But the core wound there is that we're just afraid of abandonment, that everyone we get close to is going to leave us at some point. And of course, that brings up all of the childhood memories because then, like, where does that come from? That didn't come from nowhere.
Bro.
So it's diving into essentially all of that and emotionally how I handle things. What like I learned that I usually go to frustration or annoyance, which turns to anger, which turns to dismissive shutdown, and now I'm just not talking. I need to like be alone and everyone get away from me, and I'll come back in a few hours or days even. And
Hmm.
how that's not healthy to really to the point of what I'm trying to do, which is having a secure attachment to myself and with my peeps.
But
So
it's
that diary was
so
going to be yeah.
yeah, it's so interesting to know that like you do that because you had to do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like you go away by yourself because you had to self-soothe and self-isolate because there was no one to like talk about the shit that you were going through. At least for me, like in
Well,
my
that's the
family.
thought, right? Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
mindset. Like you don't have anybody, but it's like it's also breaking that cycle of what did you tell anybody you felt XYZ? Like did you say that? Were you just angry and yelled at them something crazy because you were pissed off, right? You just
Hmm.
showed your emotional side. You didn't actually say I feel lonely. You said
Hmm.
you're all never here. Like you never call me, you never text me. Like instead of just saying I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling disconnected. We haven't talked in a while. Can we set some time? Like there's a different way to approach it than just leading straight from like the intense emotion
Yeah. Or
when
like
you let you feel.
asking for what you need. But I think in my experience, it was asking for those things and having it be denied constantly. And so you grow up
Mm,
thinking, oh, I'm not worthy of asking for these things because I'm just going to get
that's the
shut
part of it
down.
too.
And
Absolutely,
so it's like unlearning the idea of like, hey, there's people out there that will give you the things that you
absolutely,
want. Like that was
absolutely.
something that you lived through that you don't have to experience ever again. And you can like begin to understand like asking for things doesn't make you annoying or it's not bothersome or like someone's not going to deny it simply because you
Yeah.
asked. Yeah.
No, definitely. I agree with that. I think that's definitely part of my growing up too. I think for me, the twist from that was I only felt like I got it if I did something that was worthy of like praise, or like if I got really good grades,
Mm.
or I make sure I cleaned up before being told, or I, XYZ, whatever task I can do to get the attention, the good praise for attention. Then to me, whenever I said something emotionally, then I got the attention. But if
Yeah.
I happened to miss one day, then it was, pushed away. I was denied. Then I wasn't. So my mind was wrapped around this good boy behavior, almost a sense. So going into it, I was a people pleaser, essentially, just trying to do everything for everybody to continue
Yes.
the good rapport I had or connection I had. And if I ever once took away to do something for myself, now I feel like shaming myself. And and I'm worth that, and I can't go to them. So yeah, just
Totally.
finding different ways to speak to that.
Oh my God, I feel
Is
like you and I have
interesting.
such similar experiences.
Yeah. Are we twinning?
Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of instances where I feel like I feel please too. Like you're scared to
Sure.
not rock the boat, right? Or like you're scared
Correct.
to like even to
But you
make
inevitably rock the
friendships.
boat because you burn out.
Yeah, like I noticed that like when I think back on my friendships, like when they made a comment that hurt my feelings, like I would never say, "Hey, that really hurt my feelings," for fear that they would like be like, "You're being really difficult, so I'm not gonna
Sure,
like
yeah, you're
even
being over
engage." But they're
dramatic.
just like,
You're
"But I
too
need
much.
you, like you're my friend, so I'm not even gonna rock the
Mhm.
boat because this is good." And at the
Right.
cost of me suffering internally, going home and like crying and being like, "What
That
a fucking
vulnerable
asshole."
intimacy space again. Yeah, exactly.
But now I'm just like, you're being a dick. Like, cut it out. Like, that's fucked up. Like, why are you talking to me like that, you douchebag?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that self talk monologue is really strong after so
it's
many
so
years.
strong.
It knows exactly how to shut you down from everyone to speak about those, vulnerable spaces.
And
Yeah.
it's like um not intuitive, but it's very like it's just like it's how you
It's
react. Like
survival
it's
mode. It's how you survive for so long. It's
yeah,
as part of your makeup now, so to
instinctual.
speak.
It's just so instinctual that you react that
Hmm.
way. And the work
Yeah.
is to like identify why you're reacting that way and then course correct and do something else. That's the hard
Hmm.
part. I don't think anyone really talks about that. This is all therapy shit that I
No,
learned in therapy.
that's
But I
kind of
feel
what I'm
like
trying to do here. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No,
it's
yeah.
been
You're
a
saying you feel like
challenge.
what?
Huh?
You see, you feel like what?
I don't remember. I lost my train of thought.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
My
it's fine. But
apologies.
that's just like all the things. Those are the things. The like the thoughts that come into my mind while we speak. Like
Mm,
just like being an ex people pleaser. There's a lot of people I'm sure that can relate. But it's just I've never heard it from like a male voice because I
mm.
identify as male. Do you identify as male? Like
I do, yeah.
yeah. Um, and so that's another thing that I'm constantly working on, like the shame of like,
Sure.
because like we live in a very progressive time now, so it's just like, oh, like I'm very accepting of non-binary, genders, trans, like I love it. If you love it, you own it. If you're not hurting yourself or others, I'm down for it. I fully support it.
Yeah,
But I grew up very male. Like that's just been my experience. I'm very comfortable being male. I identify as male, and so like that's why I really like going to these beta spaces because it's so male. And so that's a place for me to really rejoice in that unapologetically to just say like
sure.
this is what I have to offer. And so what was I saying? I don't know what was I about. I don't know
Your
why
train of thought was gone again.
the full circle
We're
moment.
switching tracks.
Oh yeah, just to say like, oh, like here are like two men being vulnerable and talking about our experiences with
Yeah,
people pleasers and like no, I've
yeah,
never heard that from men. Like men don't talk
sure.
about that shit, but it's just
Yeah,
like we should because we all
absolutely.
experience that shit regardless of
That's
gender.
where the connection is. I think, especially speaking about how you say like you go like you like going to spaces where men are going to be male spaces and connecting in that way because that's affirming to who you are and what you want to be and what you're growing to be. I
Yeah.
think another part of that is growing up as a gay male. There are points, at least for me, there was like when you were told you weren't manly enough, like you can't wear that certain color, you can't wear a certain fit of clothing, like it can't be that tight, it needs to be this loose, it can't be that long or this short, or jewelry, or I mean, at least for me in the black community, there was even like your voice is too soft, it's too high, you need to bring it down, put some more bass in your voice. Like there was like all these different
Mm,
things that I think as I was growing up, that I had in my mind is like this is what being a man is, or a man presenting person is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to almost kind of break those too, because like while that is someone's idea, and it's not a bad idea for whoever that someone is, that's not who you are. You're really putting on different parts of someone you're not, and then you have that identity crisis or self-hate talk about yourself because you will never be what that person is. You'll only be who you are. That's true for every single day you wake up. So just learning and accepting the man that you are. I know I laugh, but this is true. Like,
No, it's
so you're gonna be
true.
every
It's
single day. You
you're
gotta
totally
accept
right.
who you are and like and find spaces that accept you for that and do your self work to realize
No,
that
you're
good enough, you're worthy.
no, I totally agree. And I think the fun challenge for me has been to just like be comfortable in that base, right? Like male presenting, that's who I am. But then like have fun with it. And so like I'll put on a thong, or I'll like paint my nails, or I'll like go grow my hair long, or I'll like dance really sexy in the mirror, like really slutty. And so like just challenging those just watching myself as just being very male presenting and being a little feminine, or like wearing something that's quote unquote feminine. It's fun to play in that space, and it's learning to de-shame it. I remember once I
Exactly.
was
That's the word. Yeah.
I remember once when I was young and I was still living at home and I was going to job interviews and I wasn't getting any jobs. My mom
Mm,
thought I wasn't getting any jobs because I was wearing my pants were too tight when I was going to these interviews. And
mm,
it was such a very distinct memory for me
thing to
because
say. Yeah.
it was so shaming. And I walked
Yeah.
away and I was like, why would she say that? Like it just brought up so many things.
Yeah.
And so like from that
Mm,
point on, I never wore tight pants again. Is that wild? Like I was
mm.
always constantly looking for like loose pants or like loose shorts or big baggy clothing. Like I was just like, it was so bizarre. I don't know. It was interesting that that sparked that memory.
No,
This is
that's
like therapy.
yeah. It's true
Ah,
though. 'Cause similar enough. I mean, again, where I was growing up, just men didn't wear form fitting things. Like you may wear like a white beater, a tank top, or something. Sure,
sure. Yeah.
but the t-shirt or your shirt, your pants, they were always baggy or just not fit or relaxed, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
So to me, that built like a body shaming thing. Like almost was like I didn't want to show my body in any form. Like, okay, no one can see it. It must be bad. I don't want anyone to see it. So I was the guy that kept a towel on when changing in the locker room and pulling his shorts or underwear on and off kind of deal. Or
Yeah.
I don't need to shower, with everybody's gone, everyone's almost out of the bathroom, then I'll go because it was like I don't want to show my body. I was ashamed of it. And I think
Yeah.
for me, when I later moved to Chicago, and I started working for a leather and fetish shop. I did the same thing. I showed up with my baggy clothes on. I was like, all right. And it was like, after a while, they're just kind of like, hey, like it's okay to relax and show a little skin if you want. They weren't like saying like you had to, but it was kind of like they can see the uncomfortability around it, like people being legit walking in naked with a thong on and some boots and a hat and good evening, how are you doing? It's like I'm not used to that from Ohio. This is different. No, you
Hmm.
didn't show your skin. So it took a while for me to kind of be present with that space because there's a lot of self-shame I realized. Now I have so many thongs and jock straps and
Yep. Same.
very sexy things to wear that I will walk in very confidently on any day of the week and having a good time. But it took a while to get there, right? And it
Yeah.
brought up a whole new batch of things that I learned about myself. But at least the confidence to be happy with the skin I'm in, it definitely started happening for sure in that point in place. But yeah, I think growing up that was a thing. That was you just stayed away from anything like form fitting and especially pastels or light colors. Like no, stay down in those.
I
A
know.
neutral is best in your base colors.
When
So
I
I was
came
a blue,
out,
black, and beige guy.
when I came out of the closet, I went full out. I tweezed my eyebrows and I was like wearing past.
Ooh, yeah.
I
I
was
started
wearing
like
like
cleaning up my
mint.
eyebrows. Yeah.
Uh, that's funny shit. Oh fuck.
No, I think I definitely started wearing a lot more like fun outfits and
Yeah, that's the
uh
fun part. I think now where I'm at, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking wear a thong to the gym. I don't give a fuck. Like I'm just
yeah,
like, if it
no.
turns me on. But again, that I think that's where the superpower is in my soul sexuality. Like I'm not seeking validation from others to tell me that I'm sexy. I know I'm fucking sexy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that took a process too. What's fully
That's the thing.
exposed?
Fully Exposed is going to be diving into more like social kind of topics.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more like I'm doing some inner work, which is causing me some questions with my interactions with my bait buddies and my relationship, my family. And so with Fully Exposed, I'm diving into those things. So I want to know more about dynamics between like gay men and straight men masturbating, and like how does that look? What do you fantasize about? What do you talk about? What is the ebbs and flows of that connection? And if so, why is it that way? Why is it different if it is or not? Talking about self-love and how prolonged like edging and how affirming it is to love your body and skin, kind of giving that voice back to men to really be intimate with yourself. I think it starts there. We don't know how to experience it with others because we never really experienced it ourselves. So you ever like start loving yourself a little bit. Looking in the
Totally right.
mirror, talking about what you like about when you're edging, saying out loud, like, not necessarily worship yourself, but worship yourself. Because I think everyone deserves some form of that worship or affirmation said out loud about them. It's the sexiest thing when someone can say, I love the ridge of your nose. Like, what? The ridge of my nose? Like, fuck. Like, it just sends me off like that's so specific. That's so like me. You were talking about me. You're not fantasizing me. You're not, putting me out on some. I can be exactly what you just said because it is exactly what you just said. And there's
Yeah.
something sexy about that. So if you can learn to do that with yourselves, you can get comfortable doing it with your buddies and spread the good news, so to speak. But
Nice.
yeah, that's diving into social aspects and like just the dynamics of couples. And I've dated, my last relationship was a non-baiter and I was a baiter, and just the dynamics of that. And the guy I'm seeing now is a full-on baiter and it's completely different. So
Oh, that's really the
just
goal,
going
right?
back, and the goal is always there. Yeah.
That's what I want. I feel like that's what I want in my life. I want like a sexy little baiter bro that I can like toss around. And then like go get
Okay.
tacos.
Say more. What's the, yeah, go into it. You got to manifest these
These,
things by
these
saying
are
them
my
out loud. That's part of
desires.
it. Hey, yeah, put them out there. So you want a baiter bro to toss around? What does that
Well,
look
like I
like? Are
just
you
feel
like,
very like now in my life I feel very daddy, which I really like. It turns me on.
ooh,
And so
okay,
very
sure,
I
sure.
talk like or I meet people on social media, like I have like these young, men in like different cities in the US that I
Different
chat
area
with.
codes. You got some boys.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I love it too because it's all so different. Like the energy is so different. Like one's in New York, so it gives me very New York, like very like,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah. They come with
very,
a different
very
energy to them, right?
absolutely. And there's one in
Yeah.
Chicago and there's one in Ohio. And so like they're also like nuanced and I love it, every single one. Again, I'm such a
The Bader
voyeur
Spice
that
Girls. I
way.
love it. Spice Boys. I love it. I
Wait,
love
so wait, where's your person? Okay, so the open diary, where is that going to be? Where can people read that? The open diary stuff.
So the open diary is going to be posted on my personal profile on BateWorld. So my B8Buddy, I'll be posting
Okay,
it on there.
so this is all, it's not like a website. People have to go to the Bait World to
Yeah, I'll be
access.
on the BateWorld
Okay.
tour to get access to it, and then I'll post
Okay.
things on my Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
And then the Fully Exposed is going to be posted through Bader Blog as well, or on Bader Blog, excuse me. So you have to go through BateWorld again
So
to get to
you've
that.
written articles for the Beta blog, yeah.
I have done a few. Yeah, my very first was 2019, and it was "Being a Man of Color on BateWorld" was the legit title. A little bit long, but we did it.
Nice. Do you like
But yeah,
writing?
so I do. I think that's something. Growing up, I wanted to be like a creative writer or just like researcher. I think I've always had interest in going to different places and like dip into the psyche of culture in the world, like how people live in different places. I've always had interest in that. But it wasn't a career that was ever seen as likely for my settings and growing. So I just leaned where things were, which is more musical. So I had a more musical background and
Oh,
choir kid and instrument kid and went to school and did all those things.
you
But
play an instrument? What instrument do you play?
I played piano. I was doing piano and I was learning the flute, but that's it.
Do
I'm
you play
not
it
good or
now?
great at either one of them. No, I let
Oh,
them all go. I picked
the
up a ukulele and I want to learn that now, but I haven't started
that's
learning more.
fun.
Yeah, but that'd be a good one.
I've always wanted to be musical. I love music. I don't know
Yeah.
shit about music, but I love listening to it. I love discovering new
You know
artists.
how it makes you feel. Yes, yeah, you know something.
Yes. And the one instrument that I've always had a desire to learn to play is the cello. And
Mm.
I once told someone who played the cello, and they're like, the reason why people love it so much. It's the closest instrument that human. What did she say? It was the close. It's the sound that cello makes is the closest to a human voice, like the
Mm.
frequencies. And so like
Oh,
it's
okay.
you can tap into it because it sounds familiar. But I just like it because it's like really sad sometimes. And I love that shit.
It triggers an emotion for you. Yes. Okay. Takes you
Yeah,
to a
it
space and a
does.
place.
Absolutely. Have you ever seen it's I forgot what movie it was, but there was a movie where this woman was playing a cello and I was just like, oh, it's so sexy. Um, I don't know, but also too like having this big thing between your legs and you're just like, oh, it, you're just like,
Your
hell yeah.
big Kong dong. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like a big old cock, and you're just like, oh. Then you play music with this giant cock instrument between my legs.
You might be onto something there. I mean, if you pull your balls and take a little spoon and pop them, I don't know. You can make music.
You absolutely can't. Have you seen that guy on Twitter that like rocks out with a guitar while he's getting baited and he jerks off with
Yes, I
cock?
have. I have. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
That's
like, that's
different. I'm like, maybe I could do that with a ukulele. I don't know.
and that's what I was saying. I was like, that's cool, but can you do it with a cello?
Okay, so then maybe that's where he expands his audience. He starts picking up new instruments, right? So
Yeah.
that's a little reflection for that guy if
If you
he's
could do
listening right
the
now.
flute, legs spread wide open.
That's true. It gives more space and place for hands and other things to be happening. Maybe a pair of feet, soft soles.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Um, where can people find you on social media and look at all the cool stuff that you do?
Yeah. So on all of my social medias, you can find me at MyB8Buddy, MYB, the numeral 8, Buddy, BUDDY. On Instagram, on BateWorld, and X, formerly known as Twitter.
Yes, go follow
And that's
them,
it at
my
this
bit
point. Yeah. Go
buddy.
follow me. Come chat me out.
That's Buddy with a Y.
Buddy with the Y, yes. Did I say I?
No, I just want to make sure that people spell it correctly to
Oh,
find you.
oh yes. Please don't spell it with an I. Good one. Yeah, you've been through this road. I'm like, oh shit, can I spell it?
Yeah, because sometimes I'll be like spelling it and I'll be like, oh wait, that's a but also too like I feel like X does this thing where you try to like look up someone that does do like sex work or porn on it. They don't really you
Yeah.
can't really find it, like hide you somehow. Like the
Yeah,
algorithm
but
doesn't really
they changed so many things now. Now you can't see people's likes anymore, and it's just like, come
but
on, what's up with that?
didn't X just announce that they're gonna allow porn? I'm like, haven't you always allowed
But then they
porn?
just
Like I don't
allow porn, but like, yeah, like it's always been around. I guess if you're lucky enough to stick around, I guess I don't know.
well,
So
I guess they're not gonna completely shut it down, which is what we're worried about. So they're gonna
sure,
allow
yeah,
it. And they're gonna continue to allow it, which is nice. And I was like, all right.
sure. I want the like specs though, because that's where I found the most fun things.
I do, but then I was thinking about it, and I was just like, actually, I like some pretty disgusting things. So maybe it's for the best that people don't see my
Okay,
likes.
it also can reveal some truths about people, very much so. Yeah, maybe I have
This is
gone through your likes
true.
to see what what kind of person is this. Let me see their likes.
That's true. No, that is very
What are
true.
they liking? It's a
Because
little
it could play,
telling. It's a little
it's yeah, because
story about the
it
person.
could paint a completely different picture and be like, wait a minute, I didn't notice this shit before, and you're just like, oh fuck.
But sometimes that's hot though, because then you see like, oh, I didn't know that they were into XYZ or these kind of
That's
videos.
true. Well, then you just have to specifically find that person out and be like, yo, are you into this shit too?
I mean, that's being very vulnerable.
That's true. I think when I start doing that, I'm just gonna be like, fuck it.
Ooh.
Life's too
You just
short.
take the
I'm like, you
clip
know
and send
what?
it to
Life's
them.
too short. Send the dick pic. Let them know you're thirsty. Let them know you want to suck it. Like, who cares, man? Like, if they say no, then they say fucking no. Just keep it moving. But like, maybe you made their day. Who knows? You know?
You don't know till you know.
That's exactly right. Listen, one of these days, someone's gonna quench that thirst. Someone will.
I feel like what it takes a
Cast a
lot of
wide net. Cast a wide net.
confidence. Yeah. I just think it takes a little bit of confidence and assurance and secureness with yourself. No matter what comes out of this, I'm still worthy of having it that I did want. Maybe just not with that person. You know.
Yes. And I'll say this now for the record. If you send me your porn, I will heart it. Whatever you're into, as long as it's not some crazy shit, and I'll just be like, yes, this is beautiful.
I did that with a buddy. We would send like porn clips or whatever we found sexy for whatever reason. We'll send it to each other and share like a little blip, like love the guy's butt in this, or love
Yeah,
their energy together, or love the way this guy is stroking his stick, whatever it was.
yeah,
It's fun to have
absolutely.
little porn buddies to share shit with.
That's all I
So
want to.
I'll,
Oh, I
I'll,
want to
I'll
have him.
see something and I'll send you something. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I feel like that's all I want my relationships to be. Like, just constantly send me sex. Like, send me porn. Like, what are you looking at? Like, what are you jerking off to? Send me your dick pic.
Yeah.
Send me your whole
Yeah.
pic. It's all good.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much for being on
Surprise
my.
me is what I want. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast. It was so great to talk to you.
Absolutely. I enjoy our therapy session today. It's just great.
It was a really therapy session. I feel like all of these podcasts, that's what it is. It's sex therapy.
Ooh, I love that though. It's a good way to go.
Um, Thank you so much to my guest, my bait buddy. Go follow them on all their sexy profiles. Some of it is not safe for work, but you will enjoy all the things that they do. I love making this podcast, talk about all things masturbation and the healing power of masturbation. So thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, BC Bator. You can find me on all socials under that handle. And we will see you in the next episode. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Hey, what's up? It's me, Beasley, checking in. So what you think about this episode? Did you love it? Because I loved it. I really enjoyed talking to my babe buddy. I learned a lot about myself, and it was a real pleasure to chat with them about all things masturbation. It was really great. Again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something about yourself, and that you are sharing this podcast with a friend. It really helps get the word out, get more visibility on it. Hey, do me a favor. Go to your favorite podcast host and rate this. Give it a Bator 5 stars. Leave a Goonie comment and tell the world how amazing this podcast is. It really helps with visibility and the algorithms and, all that techie nerd stuff that I don't really understand. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Bate Escape. I love producing these podcasts. They come out every 2 weeks. I want to remind you that I do have the new Bate Escape hotline that you can call in. So I created this voicemail box for everyone to call in and ask me questions and talk about your masturbation journey and your stories. And if you're having a hard time or need some guidance or support, I'm there for you. I am rooting for you. And that number is 747-292-1058. Call that number. Leave a voicemail. I want to hear all about it. And if it's really good, I will play it on air in a future episode of the podcast. And me and my guests can have a conversation about it. We can answer your question. We can talk about that topic. I want to hear from you. Let me know, fam. That number again is 747-292-1058. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Later.